Good afternoon. This is PyCon Sweden 2021, day 2 of our conference, and we are in the software track. Our talk number 4 is called Python as an object-oriented programming teaching tool in the Information Systems course at the State University of Minas Gerais, Brazil. And I'm very glad to introduce you all to our speaker today, who is Tiago Bacciotti Moreira from Ituiutaba, Brazil. Good morning. Good morning, Tiago.
Hello, Andrew. Good morning. Nice to meet you, man.
Let me introduce you quickly. So, okay. Tiago is currently a professor of the Information Systems course at State University of Minas Gerais, Ituiutaba unit since 2010. He has a master's degree in education, gamification focus area, and is a PhD candidate from the Universidad de Rosario, Argentina. He has experience in the IT area, working in it since 2007. So, Tiago, now the stage is yours, and you can begin.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and congratulations for your Spanish, Universidad de Rosario, Argentina. That's great. Well, hello, everybody. I would like, firstly, to thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about education, about technology, and of course, about Python. So, my name is Tiago, and since 2010, I've been a teacher in the Information System course, a technology course here at UEMG. I live in a small town called Ituiutaba. Well, during my master's degree, I studied a little about gamification and how the mechanics in gamification, the mechanics in games, can be used in education. In other words, my main concern with teaching was always to find a more profitable way to students to learn, to progress, to create, and to program. Gamification and its mechanics has some advantages, but we can also use another strategies to teach in a better way. So, of course, English is not my main language, so I apologize in advance if I make any mistake. I will try to do my best. Well, our goal here is shared experience of using the Python language to teach object-oriented programming to difficulties found, pedagogical approach used, exercise practice that we performed with our students. So we want to share some experience inside a class and how we use Python and why we are using Python to teach programming. How we conduct all the work with the students, and a little about our focus in classroom, that our focus in real-world activities, real-world problems, trying to prepare our students to the work outside the college. Well, here in our country, one of the biggest problems that we found in technology courses is the high level of dropouts. High level of evasion. Many students start studying computer science or any other course in this area of technology, but they end up being disappointed by the difficulties that are found. In our country here in Brazil, unfortunately, the early years of school, what we call here also high school, just before the college, unfortunately, do not provide a strong foundation in math, for example. Many students arrive in the college with difficulty in simple math and also in logical thinking. Difficulties in logical thinking. And this can lead many students to drop out or changing courses to another not related technology course in just the first few months when they began to study. Here, for example, we have some data taken from a survey carried out here in Brazil. It's in Portuguese, I didn't translate to English, but the main point here is that shows a dropout on the red flag, a dropout of 69% among technology course students. It's a high number. It's a high number. Even more, considering the number of slots available to work in Brazil and around the world nowadays with tech. We have a lot of slots. We have a lot of opportunities to work with technology, with programming, project management, product management, etc. It's also worth remembering that with pandemic, many vacancies that previously existed only in large centers like São Paulo now became remote work or work from home. That way, there are a lot of slots available to students right after the college to begin to work with tech. Basically, it's possible to work today in any company in our country or any company in the world if you know a little about English. And even with the end of the pandemic, we are sure these slots will remain remote. There are a lot of companies here in my country, for example, that keep saying that all the slots will remain remote. They learned how to work remote. I think that is a real transformation in market. Here again, we have another research, simple research, that shows that the greatest difficulty for students in subjects involving logic, involving programming, involving math. So the main problem is that subjects that they need to programming, to use math, to thinking in a logical way. Just to close this service, one more. This is from 2018, and it shows also that academic performance is a possible source to drop out, to evasion of the technology courses. Of course, there are many other factors. For example, financial. Many students have to work all day long and go to the college at night because they need to work to support themselves. Even also the location. There are students that live on a distance far away from the college where they study. Now, these are also problems, but the academic performance is a great problem that we try to solve. So we teachers have this kind of problem. How we can avoid this dropout in technology courses? Well, all of us that are professional, that are students from technology, we all know that the first contact begins with hello world. Whether it was done in Clipper, in Basic, by the way, I started to program in Clipper in '93. Delphi, Java, Python, we always began with hello world. And here in Brazilian colleges, most of them used C++ or Java as the first contact for the students with the language. And the part of the problem is there. These two code snippets and very simple code snippets have the same goal: to make hello world pop on your screen. For those who have never had contact with programming, which of them is easier to understand? The first piece of code in Java would have to explain what is a class in the first time, what void means, why that the word string is there. In Python code, everything is more direct, less verbose, and therefore easier for the students to understand. This is the main point. I really like this quote about how to learn, because this quote focuses on experience. In other words, to learn, you need to effectively do. You need to effectively experiment. We know that the university is, of course, based on theoretical knowledge, but it's very important in technology courses. The professional must focus also on a practical part, on exercises, preparing them for the real world. Precisely for this reason, experimentation and practice is a fundamental part of learning programming. Well, based on this problem, on those questions, the objective of our work is create a methodological proposal, a pedagogical approach that would serve to easy to the students learning, starting in a simple way and gradually increasing the challenges and gradually increasing the involvement, the problems, and the logical thinking and math. Well, we all know that the university is interesting. In the university, we have a lot of teachers with extensive academic careers. And we also have some teachers who have work experience in technology field. This is nice because we are able to work with more practical classes aimed at the professional development. It's worth remembering also that the teacher is still the central role in the teaching and learning process. We have tools, we have students, we have books, we have theoretical knowledge, but the main role in all this environment is the teacher. He needs to guide. He needs to show the way. Well, we prepared some easy baby steps, 7 or 8 steps that we can use to teach in a more profitable way for them. Instead of focusing on an IDE, instead of asking our students to install libraries, install a language, install MySQL or Postgre or other database, instead of asking them to install an IDE to just start development, we choose to use an online tool that allows the students from the first minutes of the class starting working with the language. With 5 minutes, he can start writing his first program. We chose this simple tool. It's named Ripple. It's an online software that allows the student to work from anywhere, start development almost immediately. You can also, for example, start programming on your home or on your lunchtime at your work. You can spend some minutes studying, writing a bit of code, and then access your entire portfolio from your college at night. We always encourage students to keep their codes on this platform and solve all lists of activities, lists of exercise directly inside the repo. And on the right side, we have the Python interpreter, and on the left side, we have the code, we have folders, files, etc. So it's a simple approach, easy to get started, so they can almost immediately program in the first minutes of our class, of our course. The second point of concern is that we must always show a clear problem definition. It's also a mechanic from gamification. You have to clearly know what to do. We noticed that many times the students start trying to solve a certain problem in programming without even having understanding correctly what they have to do. They start just trying to write some code, but don't have a clear definition what's the problem, what they have to do, what the steps that have to be done to solve that problem. The most important step is to make the problem proposed to them easy to understand. So we begin very, very easy and with simple activities. Here, for example, we are talking about the first list of exercise. It's in Portuguese, but we start with the number one, a simple program asking them to write a program that can sum two numbers. You ask for number A, number B, number 1 or 2, and sum them and show the results. Then we go with a second exercise where we have to convert from meters to millimeters. And this way we go on. So the main point is start on an easy way, explain clearly what they have to do, and always increasing difficulty. Because the beginning is very easy. It's very easy to sum two numbers. But we always work with activities with increasing difficulty in order to always keep the challenge. Always keep the challenge is also an gamification mechanics. We need to keep increasing difficulty. I cannot only work with easy and easy and easy exercise because the student will lose his motivation. At the same time, if I create something hard, extremely demanding at the beginning, the chance of giving up is also very high. So we must dose this. We must start easy and increasing difficulty over and over. So the first exercise in Python is to add two numbers. But in the end, they will develop a CRUD code, create, retrieve, update, delete code. For example, here, there are some exercises with higher difficulty. They are in Portuguese, but basically we ask for more complexes involving time, involving money values, temperature, conversions, and some others. Which with each new list of exercise, the difficulty increases. There are a total today of 9 lists. I just also want to point that's the same approach that I used to also teach SQL, database, and the other stuff here in the college, other subjects. Well, another point is that we are always asking them to do a collaborative work, to work on a collaborative way. Activities are not developed individually. Students always work in groups and are even encouraged to research, to Google, to talk about the problem, to ask help for a friend, for a colleague, to research and discuss the best solution, the best approach to solve some problem. This is because when they go to work on a company, they will always work with other people. They will do pair programming. They will have time to research. So there is no problem to work this way here in the college too. So we are always work together on a teamwork, using online tools and with teacher supervision. This is important. Teacher follow-up is important. Remember, teacher is the main role. He has to guide. He has to show how to solve, how to find the best solution. So it's important. Students are always looking for a solution, but we must guide the work. We must guide their work. Another point, as far as possible, we choose to work with tools and practices that are used in companies around the world. I will just point two things here. Lattes platform is a Brazilian system where students register their academic data. For example, if I have a student that wants to follow on a master degree, on a PhD, he must fill up his Lattes. So in the first day, we ask them for this. Guys, I'm finishing just in 4 minutes. So of course, we ask them to publish their code at GitHub. Everyone is encouraged to create and to use GitHub to post on a repo in the first days. All students create GitHub accounts. A lot of people didn't know or use it, but we went through a process of encouraging them. Little by little, all other teachers are also using GitHub. Another point, multidisciplinary. Our goal was to teach object-oriented program. This was clear from the start. But our goal is also to get as close as possible to what happens on the real world. We know that in addition to language, to Python, it also involves knowledge of database, project management, agile, and software engineering. So this is the challenge. Find a way to mix all these concepts and deliver something in the end. Our goal is always in the end to deliver the software running, to attend a demand, to serve the customer. But for that happen, there is a lot of happens behind the scenes. After the initial concepts and list of exercise with primary concepts in Python, programming, OOP, we move on to some more practical example. Everything's open and published, always. All source code for activities available on GitHub, the exercise lists and slides are also there. The classes were recorded and made available on a YouTube channel. The most interesting thing here is that we had recorded lessons and also have some live classes. But after that, I published a post on my blog explaining this entire process that I'm talking here. And a few weeks later, I received emails from students from other cities, other colleges, asking for help with the activities, asking for help with some other problem. And this was very rewarding because our working on a small college here, on a small city in Brazil, is also helping guys from all the country. I'm finishing. So this is the page I published on the blog, and we had many visits, and several people started to follow the classes in our working proposal. This is one of the YouTube playlists. This one is from the last year, and there are many classes, and they are grouped by section, by subjects. For example, here we have object-oriented programming, we have technology management, we have database, etc. Here we have an example. We made a tic-tac-toe using Python. Just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Another problem we had here. Aiming to use a Brazilian public web server to consult exchange quote. Very simple. And of course, we create a CRUD. I often say that building CRUD is a way to show proficient in a technology, because joining programming skills, join with database skills, and they need to list, to insert, to delete, and update things. Well, just to finish, this is my page at Amazon. I have some books published there, and this is my website. All my social media, Twitter, etc., is here. And please, let's extend this talk. Let's talk a little more. That's it, guys. Thanks, and sorry for 2 minutes delay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tiago. You actually have pretty much time to answer questions. Thank you for sharing your pedagogical experience with us. I think it's really helpful and useful. So we have some comments here. Let's try to see them. Helio says here that he already been to Itaba.
Awesome, Helio. Itaba is very hot here. That's great.
Somebody asks for a clarification. What is asset management? And there is an answer from Helio. I guess, in other words, this is something like a simple bookkeeping technique, which is easy to teach to students, to give it as an example.
Mm-hmm. There is another, is controlling your assets like a computer. It's something to buy, to have depreciation of time, and eventually you need to buy a new one. Thank you, Helio. We have here also a question about how do you handle the case of students with proper internet access? This is a problem.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a problem we have here. Some universities here in Brazil are providing SIM cards to students in the beginning of the pandemic to help them to get a proper connection. But in our college, in our environment, there are not a lot of problems. Just 1 or 2 students that live on a farm near the college, on a city near. But just that. And the classes are also recorded. And we have one time that I put all these classes on a DVD and sent on a DVD or on a pen drive and sent to the students.
Okay. There is a kind of a comment, and I have a question related to this. So he says this is a good solution for IDE, and there are some people who they teach programming languages, and it actually depends what kind of language you teach. Some prefer to go really simple, so just use the simplest text editor and the terminal. Some people like to use IDE, but then you need to guide your students because you have to set up them, install some extra packages to show them how to build system, and so on and so on. With Python, some people actually prefer using notebooks like Jupyter notebooks. Have you had any experience with them? What do you think? Is it useful or not?
Yeah. Using Jupyter notebooks, it's very useful. And Geronimo Madru is a friend of mine. Thank you, Geronimo, for your question and comment. So, yeah, I think that in the first time, we began with a simple way using a repo or another tool online. But with a few weeks on the second or third month of classes, we teach them to install Jupyter, Jupyter Notebook, to install some IDE, or to use Notepad also to write code and they run on Python, on Linux, on Windows on a second time. Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question. It's somehow related to the question from Helio about this SIM cards and internet connection. We have people in our department who teach the first year for students. They teach Python, like really basic things. And they told me from the very beginning, they already see who will succeed and who will not. So there is a strong correlation with the dropout rate with what they actually bring to classes. So those students who are the best, they usually bring their own laptop and they have some kind of Linux installed there. Those who perform slightly worse, they have Windows. Those who go even worse, they have a tablet. And those who for sure will drop out, they bring a smartphone. Have you had this problem in your classes? Like, yeah, it sounds strange, but that's a change in generation. So there are students who come with smartphones, and it turns out they cannot even type. They don't know how to do this.
That's a great observation. I didn't have any students just accompanying the classes with the smartphone. And just to talk about Linux, I think that 20% use Linux. Most of them are always using Windows to learn.
Okay.
There is a message from Leonardo Fuzeto, who is also a friend of mine. Thank you, Leo, for being here.
This one, the last one.
Yes, the last one.
Okay, so people, thank you for your talk, and I would also like to thank to our audience for questions and comments, and to you in particular. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us and sharing these ideas. And we will be very happy to see you next year at the same conference, maybe in real life, if it's possible.
Yes, I will be there. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Elio, too. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, fine. Then we end our broadcast.